fellow Illumineers. It's Greg, and welcome back to Boss Fox Kitchen Table. Anyways, today we have 4 matches at the LORCANA Play League that is here in London, Ontario at Mana Lounge. So, before we get into those games, I want to go over a few things. These are the league sheets that we get every week to fill out. Basically, we take these sheets, and there are little quests on these sheets that we can fulfill either by the day, week, or month, depending on what they are. It's a fun way to get the people interacting with the game, and depending on what store you're at, depends on what these sheets may be. The leagues are ran differently depending on your local game store. So before we get into the games, I just want to give a shout out to the Mana Lounge for letting me record these games, and let's get into it. So first up, we have a match with myself versus QuantumMercury. He's another fellow YouTuber, so give him a shout out. His stuff will be linked down in the description. So we have drawn our hands, and I'm pretty sure we both choose to mulligan 4 cards here, if I remember this game correctly. Yeah, we forgot to roll for turn. It's okay, these games are only casual, so it doesn't really matter. Following the etiquette is a good thing to do, but being just a casual league and not competitive games, it's not really a big deal. He decides to ink Teeth and Ambitions and he passes his turn. I draw for turn. I decided to ink a Judy Hops, and I play myself a Develop Your Brain. Draw my 2 cards, throw 1 on the bottom, 1 in my hand. I'm pretty sure it was a Develop Your Brain, if I seen that right. He inks a Maui. Ouch. Sucks on turn 2. Quantum showing off his hand of uninkables, which at this point in the game is definitely not a good thing. Not where he wants to be playing against Popsicle. I don't have very much in my hand, as you can see there. Could have showed a little better. So I decide to play another Develop Your Brain. Draw 2 cards. Debate on what to put back. Yeah, I remember what that was. It was either a Be Prepared or I believe a Fishbone Quill. So yeah, I decided to play another Develop Your Brain. My last ink, and I pass my turn. Quantum inks a snake. He's not really happy about it. Then he hard casts a Friends from the Other Side. Not the greatest thing to have to do there. You definitely would rather sing that than draw your 2 cards, so you can still use your 3 ink and possibly play one of the cards that you draw. But he can't do anything else, so he passes his turn over to me. So I ink Maleficent Dragon, and I pay 3 ink for, I believe, a Judy Hops. Totally forgetting that he has the Sorcerer's Spellbook in his deck, which literally adds 1 ink or 1 lore to your lore count by just paying 1 ink. He decides to hardcast another Friends from the Other Side to draw 2 cards. He inks a Merlin Goat. Ouch. And decides to pass his turn. I draw for turn. So ideally by this turn I should have a fishbone quill, so I definitely didn't grab a fishbone quill. I think it was actually a develop your brain earlier, and yeah, so I have nothing, so I just play out Queen of Hearts and pass my turn. And he decides to play a 1-drop Minnie Mouse, 1/3, and then bounce his Minnie Mouse back with his Madam Man Fox to take out my Judy Hops. And still a handful of uninkable cards. I decide to... I guess not. So I take out his Fox with my Rush Queen, pay 4, and I believe that's a Hiram with no item. In the future, this screen glare will not be such an issue. Yes, it was a Hiram. He banishes it with a Lady Tremaine. Very good card. In multiplayer, destructive. So I finally get my Fishbone Quill. Use Fishbone Quill. Have 3 ink and pass turn. It's not a position where I'd like to be in with Super Pop here. I really wanted to test it out in this match against Quantum's very, very aggressive Ruby Amethyst control build bounce. It is very strong. So he decides to play out 2 spell books here, inks a Merlin Goat, and starts gaining his lore. There I was asking him why didn't he use the other spellbook if he had 1 ink left. He's like, oh, I've already used it. And then he decides to quest with Lady Tremaine, as I have nothing on field. He's wondering if I have anything back, because I do play a lot of the banished cards that he uses. So yeah, so I used the Dragonfire on his Lady Tremaine, pass my turn. Ready, set, draw. So now he has 7 ink in his inkwell. He is ready to be prepared. We are both at this point, but having no characters is really a weird game. And at this point, we were both saying that how weird this game actually was, and just blah. So, yes, again, I pass my turn because I have nothing. Pays 1 for a Minnie Mouse for 1 strength, 3 willpower. And he goes ahead and spellbooks for 2 more lore and passes his turn to me. And I'm showing my hand. Literally 2 be prepared and then another Gothel. Right now, I would definitely need a dinner bell. That would help me out in so much. It would be an amazing thing to pull, but my combo just would not go off. So I play out another Judy Hops, and I pop one of his spellbooks. So now he's only gaining 1 lore off that at least. But as you can see, I only have 2 lore, and I believe he's in or approaching double digits right now. Yeah, I passed my turn, not knowing what to do. Just saying at this point, man, I should almost just scoop, but not loving to do that. I continue to play it out, because you never know, anything can change the game. He decides to play an Olaf 1-drop and passes his turn, and gains some more lore off his spellbook. I decide to quest for 2 with my Judy, pay 7, be prepared. Sucks having to clear 2 1-drops off his field with such a powerful card, but I have to slow down his lore. The more he quests and more characters, the faster he reaches that 20, and the quicker I lose the game. So yet again, spellbook for 1, passes his turn. I should really stop holding my ink like that when I go to use it, as it does show the opponent what I have inked, and then they kind of can remember. So I should even remember that for future games. He decides to play Merlin Goat, gains 1 lore off the Goat, and then he plays the Madam M Fox, bouncing the Goat back to his hand, getting another lore. Decides to use Spellbook, gains another lore. I believe I have a Noi on the field right now, and because I have an item, she has Ward and Resist +1. Play Wood Lady Tremaine, get rid of his Madam M Fox. I pass my turn, I cannot do anything else. Quest for 2 with the Noi. Plays 5, plays Be Prepared. Only way to get rid of Noi with the ward. You cannot use it any other way unless he uses Lady Tremaine. So I pay 1 for a Shield of Virtue, pass my turn. Right now I believe I'm holding on to a Be Prepared, and at this point I'm like, what is going on? Honestly, where are my cards? Where's my Hiram? Where's my Tamatoa? So yeah, I decided to scoop. The game's over. Yeah. So that match was interesting. Could have been a little bit better. I definitely could have drawn some Hirams into some Popsicles. Those would have definitely helped me. Definitely remembering for those GD hops for spell books or Sleepy's flutes in the future would definitely help us. But let's get into the next game here. Next up, we have myself versus rRase. You can check out his deck list down in the description as well. He is playing a Sapphire Amber deck. I am playing my version of Bodyguards, which is Amber Steel. So, looks like he wins the dice roll and decides to go first. He decides to mulligan 4 cards, draws 4 cards, and begins to shuffle. Looks like I decide to draw 4 cards as well. 5 cards, it looks like. I must have had a very, very bad mulligan, and look at that sloppy mess of a shuffle. Get your act together, Boss Fox. Not showing very good shuffling skills there. Quite questionable. Where are your card skills at? So he decides to ink and play a queen and pass his turn. I decided to play out a Captain Hook. He is the one with Challenger +2, very strong as a turn 1 play. With the Challenger, he becomes a 3/2, but when he is getting attacked into from the opposing character, he only is a 1/2. rRase decides to play a Lantern on his second turn, and then play out a Queen for the 1 ink less effect. I decided to ink and play out a Simba Bodyguard. Exert him as Bodyguard, protects my Captain Hook when he quests for 1. Pass my turn. He decides to ink a Popsicle. Pays 3 ink for a Fishbone Quill. Passes turn. I draw. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I ink. I will try to show my ink in future videos, as that may help knowing what I am playing for the viewers. I apologize for that. Alright, so I pay 3 ink to smash one of his queens, and I quest with my Simba and my Captain Hook, using my Simba as Bodyguard again. He decides to hit into my Simba with his queen. Maybe what happened with this play here? Maybe something odd. I'll have to run that back and check what happened there. Maybe you guys can leave something in the comments to let me know. As I believe, I think he hit my Simba with his queen, so that should have sacked my Simba. So anyways, I quest for 2, and I play a Musketeer's Tabard and pass my turn. And he plays out the Maleficent. So he uses his Hades on my Simba. Uses his queen on my Captain Hook, takes 1 damage and passes his turn. Clearing my entire field is definitely not a good position for me right now, as the Maleficent quests for 3 lore, which definitely helps his lore count. I play a Maximus to get a Bodyguard on the field to hopefully draw a card off my Musketeer's Tabard down the road, but at this point I believe that I do not have a good chance. I believe I have 3 cards back right now. So rRase is debating on what to do. He decides play the Flavisham. Use the lantern first, and then pop it with Flavisham. Put Gaston into his inkwell. Quests with the Maleficent for 3, and passes his turn. So I hit into his Maleficent with my Maximus to get some damage on it, hoping that he will do something. I believe I'm going to play a Grab Your Swords right here. Yes. So Grab Your Swords, that clears out the Maleficent and the Queen, putting 2 damage onto his Hiram, which isn't very much. At this point, I'm just trying to damage my bodyguard, so then he can hopefully go into it with one of his characters, and I can get some cards to draw. When my bodyguard deck pops off, it does pop off. It can draw a mad amount of cards if the Musketeers get out, and Simbas and other cards, and it can go aggro crazy for lore with the Lilos and other small cards with 2 lore. If you do not draw into the cards, it becomes a total brick. Or if they have item removal, it's just something else. So he plays out the Hades, removes my Maximus, so I do not get to draw my cards off the bodyguard. Stop doing that, Boss Fox. Stop holding your ink like that and letting your opponent know. So I pay 3 ink, bring out the bodyguard Prince with resist +1, and pass my turn. Raise brings out a Scepter of Arendelle. Use the Scepter of Arendelle to be eaten by his Flavisham. Draws 2 cards. Pays 1 ink for a Popsicle. Then draws a card. Inks. Pays, I believe, 6 ink for the Smart Gaston, which allows you to take 3 cards off the top of your deck and choose one of them, put it in your hand, and put the other 2 at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then he quests with his Hades for 2, passes turn. I quest for 2 with the Prince. I just go for it and play another Grab Your Swords. At this point I realized I didn't have really anything in my hand and I'm about to lose this game. So just putting damage on his characters makes him maybe think that I have something. I did, I believe, have a Tinkerbell back. So the giant Tink may be able to do something. but with the amount of willpower that his characters have on the field, me being able to remove them with the steel package that I have is not going to happen. I don't believe I run into any smashes or anything when I draw, so this game was pretty much in the bag for him, especially once he started comboing off with his Tamatoa here, which gives him back, I believe he takes his either his scepter or his fishbone quill. Yeah, he grabs his scepter, plays. Yeah, so that's 8 for the Tamatoa, 1 for scepter. He's going to remove damage off Gaston, use scepter on Hiram, or yeah, with Hiram eating it up, drawing 2 more cards. Quests with Hades and Gaston. And at this point, I believe he is 3 off from winning the game. And I look at my hand and say, wow, what a junk hand. Nothing. Play my tank. It does 1 damage to each of his characters, which is absolutely nothing with that big fat shiny Tamatoa on the board. And I say, yeah, that's the game. Usually my bodyguard deck is drawing a lot more cards, especially if I get 2 tabards online. I have to give props to rRase on his deck, his triple Hades Villains build. It's really strong. It will be linked down in the description. But let's get into our next game here. This is another fellow YouTuber. He goes by the name of XTCG Kingdom on YouTube. His channel will be linked down in the description. So we go ahead and we draw, and we decide to roll for turn. XTCG decides, who should go first? I believe he lets me go first, or yes, I believe I go first. And I think I end up playing a Lilo, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Give his deck a little cut there, as I keep my hand and I do not mulligan. So he goes first, actually. So I was wrong. Maybe I'll get a 50-50 chance on guessing my first play right. But he inks a Maui and plays a Popsicle, which is a change in games, because usually I'm on the other side of the table with Popsicle. But once again, I am playing my bodyguard deck. I decided to play my 1-drop Lilo. Deck quest for 2, has 1 strength and 1 willpower. And past my turn, he decides to ink a Scar, the Sapphire one that's not very played often. Then he plays a Grandma Tala. Already beginning to play his cards that will ramp. He, funny enough, names this deck Paw Patrol. He has not posted a video of this deck yet, but allowed me to show this video and the deck off in this for you guys. So I play a second Lilo, pass a turn, and he takes out my second Lilo with his Grandma, putting it into his Inkwell Exerted, and decides to ink a Felicia, pay 3 ink, and play a Mickey Mouse, which allows him to put another card off the top of his deck, exerted into his Inkwell, and the ramp continues. That's his turn. I draw. And I exert 3 ink to play Little Tank, Tiny Tactician. I again quest with my Lilo for 2. And pass my turn. XTCG inks Let It Go. Hits his Mickey Mouse detective into my Lilo, and she is gone. They don't last very long, but they can quest quick if you get them bodyguarded up. Then he places his Lady Tremaine and says goodbye to my Tink. I decide to ink a Donald Duck Musketeer and get my Tabard online. Pass my turn. And he decides to play Mufasa. He inks a Grandma Tala and plays another Popsicle and draws a card. And goes in quests with both Lady Tremaine and Mickey Mouse, gaining 3 lore. I believe I inked a big Tink there. And play a Musketeer's Tabard. I'm not sure. It may have been a Prince Eric or a big Tink. I pass my turn. And XTCG decides to start giving me the business. He quests for 3, then 2, then 1. Decides to play LeFou, Instigator, which readies up his Mufasa, and passes his turn. I draw. I pay 6 and play Big Tank. So yes, my card that I did ink was the Prince Eric, which does 1 damage to each of his characters. He readies his characters. Decides to pop a Popsicle and heal Mufasa. Pop a Popsicle and heal Lady Tremaine. Pays 4 ink for a Nick Wilde, which gives him back a Popsicle. Then he decides to play a Shere Khan with his remaining 3 ink. Inks. Plays a Popsicle, draws a card. And again gives me the business. Questing for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm pretty sure that I know that that's the end of the game, so I decide to say, hey, you know what? Grab your swords, get rid of some of those guys. Then I play Mufasa and decide, hey, you know what? That's it. I'm done. He says, well, why didn't you hit my characters? I says, because you would have turned 1 next turn. Well, it seems like Boss Fox just can't catch a break today, either with Super Pop or with Bodyguards. That's okay, eventually we'll get that dub. Anyways, let's get into the final match of the day. So, here we have Allie. Me thinking that because she was in the constructed tournament yesterday at the other LGS in town that supports LORCANA League. Hey, she was there, she's in constructed, she's playing competitive, she should have a good deck. So why not use my best deck, Super Pop? Man, was I wrong and I felt bad. You guys will see. So I decided to mulligan 4 cards, and I believe she decided to mulligan 4 as well. She is playing a steel amethyst, and as I said, I'm playing my ruby sapphire super pop. I go ahead and I ink Maleficent Dragon and I pass my turn. She inked a Crab Merlin pass turn. I play a Noi. She inks and plays Cinderella Knight in Training, which allows her to draw a card and discard a card from her hand. She decides to discard Fairy Godmother and passes turn. I exert 3 ink to play a Fishbone Quill. I use my Fishbone Quill, as it can be any card, and it says I do not have to show my opponent. I do so and pass my turn. She decides to ink. And go ahead and quest for 1 with her Cinderella. Continues by playing Madame Mim Snake, bounces Cinderella back to her hand, and decides to let loose with the cannons on my Noi. And I decide to tell her, hey, you can't do that. I got a Fishbone Quill in play. Noi gets +1 and ward when an item's in play. She's like, oh, okay, well, never mind then. Pass the turn, I draw. I ink, pay 5, and just play Let It Go on Madame Mim Fox, or Snake, and it goes into her inkwell. Draw for turn. She goes ahead and inks and plays Peter Pan Shadow. And says, oh, well, I'm gonna rush into your Noi. Forgets that I just said that he has +1 resist. And says, oh well, I'll hit him anyways. And I take the 1 damage. And it takes the 1 damage from my Noi. That's turn, I draw. Ink, and I play Lady Tremaine and say, goodbye, Peter Pan Shadow. You may be a shadow, but you're out of here. Pass my turn. She inks the Hey Hey, Persistent Presence, and goes ahead and pays 3 for Let the Storm Rage on my Lady Tremaine, doing 2 damage to it, and drawing her card, and then finishing her off with a Fire the Cannons. And passes turn. I ready, set, and draw for turn. I ink a card, and I exert 4 for Hiram Flavisham. I pop my Fishbone Quill, and draw 2 cards. I then quest for 2 with my Noi and pass the turn. She inks Jafar, Dreadnought, and plays Hercules, the one with a bodyguard. Then also plays Merlin Goat and gains 1 in lore and passes turn. I exert 3 ink to replay another Fishbone Quill. Ink, I believe it was Teeth and Ambitions. I use Hiram to gain 1, then pop my Fishbone Quill, draw 2 cards, pay 1 for a Popsicle, draw a card, pay 1 for a Shield of Virtue, pay 3 to ready my Hiram off the Shield of Virtue, and I quest for 2 with my Noi, taking me to 11 lore. She decides to sing Friends on the Other Side with her Hercules. As he's bodyguard, it will protect the Merlin if she goes ahead and quests. If I do get rid of the Merlin, she still gains 1 lore off him either way. She then plays Fairy Godmother and decides to quest with Merlin Goat. Or, sorry, takes out my Noi and does 1 damage to the goat. Then pays 1 for Pascal and passes turn. There, I believe I was saying, oh, you're one of those players that counts down the damage and not counts how many damage counters are on there with their dice. So I quest with my Hiram, and I pop my Popsicle, or in his case, eat that Popsicle, and draw 2 more cards. I ink, and at this time I have a lot of ink in my inkwell. If I'm counting that right, I believe I have 9 ink. I pay 1 for a Popsicle to draw a card. Pay another 1, it looks like. For I Develop Your Brain, which draws me 2 cards, and I decide to keep 1, put it in my hand, and put 1 at the bottom of my deck. Right now I think I'm digging for Tamatoa to close out this game and find a bunch of items, as my inkwell is quite full now and I can just start smothering the board. I'm also counting how many characters are on the field to deal damage to them, so I can remove some of her questing abilities and also give me just enough time to get up in the lore count. As Popsicle does come in the more later game, and it just really starts to pop off. That being said, it does have some glaring weaknesses against extremely aggressive aggro decks. So she quests for exerts 3 for Benja to pop my shield. In this case, I probably would have not got rid of the shield. Maybe I would have. Either way, Then she goes in with the Merlin Crab, gives 3 extra damage to the Fairy Godmother with Challenger. So yeah, that gets rid of him. So she passes her turn after questing, and I pay 1. Play a Popsicle, ink a card, and I believe this is where Be Prepared comes down. Right here I'm going through my discard pile to look for my items to see what I have. See, I believe I'm thinking between Be Prepared or Tamatoa at this point. And I think I opt for the Tamatoa. Yes, I do. Because I count how many characters she has and how much lore she can gain against my 12 lore. So, Tamatoa comes into play. I get to select an item. I grab a Popsicle. Man, I love my Popsicles. I pay 1 for Popsicle. Draw a card. And I have 1 ink left. Or no, I guess I've used all my ink. And I pass my turn. And I'm pretty sure at this point, this is where the opponent realized, hey, I think he's definitely got me. And yeah, I'm not gonna win this game. So she goes ahead and she quests. And I ready, set, and draw. And I pay 3 for Fishbone. And I go ahead and I quest for 5. My Tamatoa, because there's 4 items in board, he gains 1 more for every item in play. And because he quested, I should have got another item back. I just realized I didn't do that. So she plays Cinderella, Knight in Training, and says, yeah, so I'm gonna quest and you win next turn. So I show, hey, yeah, I would have drew Hiram and would have started popping off. I would have drew cards by popping a Popsicle, yada yada yada. Well, that didn't go as I expected. Guess that teaches you, don't go into things assuming that the deck will be good just because it was in a tournament the day before. Anyways, this is Greg, aka the Boss Fox, and this is Boss Fox Kitchen Table. Hope you enjoy the content. Don't forget to give the fellow creators that contributed to this video a shout out. Their information is down in the description down below. See you guys next time. Have a good time, Illumineers. Peace.
What does the fox say?